Once upon a time, people were obsessed with Airbnb, but now you're more likely to hear a horror story than a vacation one. And it's been a bloodbath for years. But while everyone was complaining in the media and on TikTok and Hilton throwing their shady ads, Airbnb's been secretly setting up a comeback, hoping for a chance at revival. And if you haven't looked lately, you would not even recognize Airbnb. Here are 10 full send changes Airbnb's made to win their guests back. And here's why they matter. The jury's still out. Will any of these 10 changes make a difference? Please let me know in the comments as we go through this list. Coming in number 1 on the list is Sortable Reviews. Airbnb used to feel like a 5-star echo chamber, trying to blind guests into a false sense of confidence. But now, you can sort reviews by the best and by the worst and kick the 1 stars right up to the top. It doesn't end there. You get the classic, recency, and the relevance one is a total game changer. If you're bringing a pet, it'll kick the pet-related ones up to the top. If you're bringing kids, any families staying, their reviews are at the top too. Really wild tech, really exciting for guests, I think. And number 2 is the death of Superhost, but rising out of the ashes, they present to you guest favorites. Now, I don't mean to be too cheeky, hosts really do hate this. They worked hard for Superhost, but what Airbnb realized is that a host could have 9 good properties and 1 bad one and still be Superhost. And that 1 bad listing is still 10% of their portfolio. And having a trash experience 10% of the time is uncalled for on Airbnb. It's one of the main ways that they've been losing guests. So what guest's favorite is like Superhost, but generated on a per listing basis. And further, it's not just about rankings. If someone had an issue and they needed a refund and then gave a 5-star stay because they felt accommodated, the fact that the place was unclean and they got a refund for lack of cleanliness will bump the listing out of guest favorites, even if it has a 5-star rating. Airbnb is full send committed to trying to rebuild trust with guests by catching people who do stuff on the background to keep their score high. It's not just about score, it's about actual authentic performance. Bonus to this, if you want to have some fun and search right now, you can go to Airbnb and go to filters. When you go search an area, the filter drop down, there used to be a button where you could search for superhosts. That's gone, and now the button is for guest favorite listings, knocking everything that's not a guest favorite out of search. Now, Airbnb isn't only trying to right its wrongs, it's trying to lean into its strengths as well, which brings in number 3, the shared wishlist feature. A shared wishlist allows a squad leader to create a list of places to stay, share it with their friends, and they can collectively upvote or downvote their favorite listings. So the whole group can decide collectively if they want the one with the lazy river or the pickleball court in the back or the go-kart F1 racing track around the house. Those do exist. Nerd tangent, I use shared wish lists to do market research on my competition because I teach how to do Airbnb. If you want to learn about that as a host, watch this channel. There's some really cool stuff here. But moving on, number 4 is risky. This is a risky play that hosts also don't like, but it's great for guests. Again, this is a guest-forward video. Reserve now, pay later. Yeah, you heard that right. Somebody can book a listing that's $10,000 and not have to put the $10,000 down. I don't know if it's 25% down or 10% down. I'm sure there's a little good faith money at play, and then Airbnb charges the person over time. If their payment fails, they have 72 hours, 3 days to make it right, or the reservation is canceled. But this lowers the barrier to entry for people to get into super awesome listings because they don't have to have $10,000 today to reserve something a year from now that they plan on having $10,000 for. After all, this is a recession or whatever. Now, my friends, this is a near neighbor to number 4. It's called split payments. It's been around for a little while. A person who books an Airbnb can invite their friends to stay at this Airbnb, and before they all pay, they can all chip in their credit card information and split the payment as a group. Like that old software Splitwise that my friends used to use when we travel overseas. So that way everybody can equally pitch into an Airbnb property. And you can tell that this happens because Airbnb in the review will notate it as group trip. If you ever want to see how this happens, just look for group trip in the reviews. Now these next 5 do get pretty deep, and it's wild stuff. As my 10 years as a host, I never thought that they would be so guest-centered because I built my entire business in an era where it was super host, no pun intended, but super host focused. They have market managers that I'm assigned to help me grow my business, and they gave me a bunch of cool widgets and gadgets to help me run my business. And if it wasn't for those widgets, I never would have been able to build a 100+ door portfolio. They really brought enterprise level systems down to the host. Making it easy for hosts is half the reason why they need these changes for guests, because I got too big to do a good job, I will confess that. And a lot of hosts would have to confess the same as me. And so if you're happy with these 5 so far, hit the like button. Let Airbnb know that they're on the right track, putting the guests first, because maybe these can win guests back. Check out number 6. Number 6 is expanded air cover protection for guests. They, instead of just having 24 hours to get support for a bad reservation-related issue, they have up to 72 hours, 3 whole days, to say that something was wrong upon check-in. I think Airbnb decided to do this because they realized that some guests move super fast, they drop their luggage, they gotta go to a show. And also Airbnbs can be so big that sometimes you don't notice something is wrong, or you give the host the benefit of the doubt to try to resolve something, and in good faith you would go over 24 hours to resolve your quarrel with the host. So the 72-hour window gives Airbnb guests a chance to work it out with hosts directly, and if something doesn't work or goes wrong, Airbnb can still step in. It goes further too. Airbnb will help you find a new Airbnb if you have to leave the one that you're in for a host cancellation or a host-related issue. They make sure they can afford this because they charge hosts 50% of the reservation value. So if somebody paid $1,000 for a stay, they'd get a full refund. But Airbnb charges $500 to the host to put into some sort of slush savings account that if an Airbnb guest needs to pay a little bit more money because the next available listing is more expensive, that slush fund pays for some of these increased costs. Airbnb is kind of hush-hush about this. I don't get to have direct information exactly how this works. Hopefully one day they give that to me. But for now, that's how I think that whole 50% fee works. And yes, they've charged me for it. I've been there. Now, number 7 is very, very new. They released it just this summer in their summer release, Airbnb Services. The goal for this is to give more quality where hotels would give quality. Because of course, hotels want to pull Airbnb guests back to hotels. So hotels have bars and restaurants and spas and saunas and all the good stuff. So now Airbnb says, we're going to bring the party to you. If you want a hairstylist, you want to get your makeup done, you want to get a massage, you want a private chef, we will bring those services to you. You pay for them in the app, and then you can get it done at your Airbnb. Now, hosts can opt out of these services. Hosts can choose not to host services because hosts actually don't get a cut when this happens. And I'm sure a few of you might have an opinion about that. You can probably write your grievance down below in the comments if you do feel any certain way about that. I'm sure Airbnb will be down there in the comment section. I know I've got a furrowed brow right now, but I actually think this is really cool stuff overall. I think it's serious, but I think it's really good for guests. And further down the road of competing with hotels, like Marriott has Bonvoy points and Hilton has their honors system. I think that's correct, right? They've partnered with Hotel Tonight, which Airbnb owns, so the partnership is no surprise. But if you book hotels on Hotel Tonight, you get points that you can apply to book an Airbnb. This could also just be a way to get people who are very hotel forward to consider Airbnb for the very first time. But I do think that this is good in a way because now an Airbnb guest can book an Airbnb and they can book a hotel through Hotel Tonight perhaps and still get some feeling that they're still working within the greater ecosystem of what they like. I do speculate that if this goes well, Airbnb will build a much more unified front for this hotel Airbnb mixture. But you can book hotels on Airbnb even right now. If hotels participate and create the listings, they do exist on Airbnb. Now, number 9, if you watch TikTok videos, is probably the crowd favorite because Airbnb guests have been upset about fees, hidden fees and cleaning fees and all this nonsense. Now, Airbnb knows that they can't take away cleaning fees because they make sense to hosts. They can have a $200 per night cost, but they do still have their fixed cleaning cost. So Airbnbs want to line item that in. So if they pay $300 to clean a house, they need to get paid that. But the Airbnb guest doesn't need to know that of the $1,000 final price that they like to pay, 300 of it or 500 of it is a cleaning fee. If guests never knew that, there would never be a point of contention. So what they've done is just front-loaded everything. The cleaning fee is still there, but it rolls into the rate right away. So when an Airbnb guest searches for a stay, they see a final price. They see $2,000, and then that $2,000 carries through to checkout and there's no surprise cleaning fee at the end. I think this is a long overdue change. And if Airbnb built this from the beginning, I think half of their problems would be gone because this distrust of the Airbnb platform has been so centered around host expenses and host cleaning fees, and the fact that hosts have checkout lists where people have to take out the trash or shut the lights off or start the laundry. All of this around the fact that there's still a cleaning fee, people complain. If I have to pay a $300 cleaning fee, why am I washing my own dishes? And that's why for number 10, saving the best for last, you can clock this, Airbnb is telling hosts, if you want someone to do the dishes, you have to write it into your checkout instructions and house rules. A guest will see this, kind of like a warning. Before you check out, the host has a checkout chore list. And hosts that don't don't have a checkout chore list cannot enforce it or even ask. They might be able to ask nicely, like if it's not too much trouble, please start the laundry, but you don't have to. That way guests who are set on just chilling on their vacation and not washing dishes, they can find a place that gives them that princess treatment that they demand on vacation. But of course, results may vary. We have yet to see if Airbnb can enforce all these at scale and to the satisfaction level that guests require. Now, these aren't gimmicks, these are real corrections. Airbnb knows that they lost trust from the guest community, and this is how they plan on winning them back. And of course, I'd like to know what you think. Do you think that Airbnb's on the right track? Do you think that they can do this? Or do you think it's too late? Has everybody already gone to VRBO and they have no intention of coming back? Let me know down in the comments. If you are a host, this next video has 10 amenities that guests absolutely love. You should watch that video next. And thanks for watching this one all the way through to the end. It's my favorite thing to do is to teach you guys, so thanks for supporting this channel. And as always, I will see you on the other side.